Hi, I'm Jenna.
And I'm Jody.
And we are in my backyard. Today, our backyard is Robin Hood Park. And we're here today to talk about mushrooms.
Yes, and there are so many mushrooms here. It's been raining for several days.
Yep.
And I understand that the mushrooms will start popping out now, now that things are starting to dry out a little bit. But I've been going around and there are tons of mushrooms here.
Tons of different kinds. We walk the dog in here sometimes. We see different ones every time we come. Different colors, different shapes, and I don't actually know that much about them. So we're here today, we're gonna find out a little bit more about mushrooms and why they're important to the whole region, really.
Right. I mean, we couldn't live without them.
No.
Oh.
Hey ladies!
Hey, how are you?
Look at all the mushrooms I found in my backyard!
What is that?
This is Hen of the Woods.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. So where you found this right up here in Robin Hood?
Right up here in Robin Hood.
Wow.
I actually found like 6 or 7 of them.
Wow.
Can't believe it.
And they're huge. That's just one?
This is just one.
Wow.
And this is a baby.
Oh my
These
gosh.
mushrooms can grow to be in excess of 100 pounds.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So we should introduce Dave.
Yes.
Dave
yes.
is Dave Witchland from Witchland Woods, and he is a mushroom expert, mushroom farmer,
Yep.
naturalist, guide.
Extraordinaire.
Yeah,
Extraordinaire.
so many different things. So tell us a little bit about, first of all, about how easy it is to find these and what
Well-
you do with them once you find them.
Mushrooms are the largest organism on the face of the planet.
Wow.
They cover more acres than anything, anywhere. And actually, everywhere you step, there is mushrooms. Whether they're fruiting mushrooms is a different story.
Right, because they're underground in the soil.
Because the mushroom is only 5% of the life of the mycelium. And the mycelium is what really is everywhere.
Wow.
The
so is that
mycelium
in the soil, in rotting logs, in
everything.
everything?
Breaks down living matter.
So is it the spores or what is the mycelium?
Okay, well, the mycelium, we actually look at this. This is the common honey mushroom. This is an edible mushroom found in the forest. But again, don't go picking mushrooms and eating them unless you absolutely know what it is.
Definitely.
Because mushrooms can kill you.
Yes.
There's a mushroom out there called the Amanita virosa, and it's got a nerve toxin in it. And it will shut your nervous system down in 7 hours, and there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah.
But back to mycelium. Mycelium is the rhizomorphic hyphae that actually live in the ground, and the mycelium actually go through asexual reproduction and keep on reforming more hyphae, which feeds on any sort of lignous or living matter that has died or is in the process of dying, or actually all plants on Earth have a natural mycorrhizal relationship with plants.
Wow.
Some have ectomycorrhizae, some have endomycorrhizae. Mycelium surrounds the root systems of plants, creates acids and enzymes
And breaks
that
it down.
decompose everything around it.
Yep.
So is it right when I've heard people say that we couldn't be on the planet without mushrooms?
Well, if you think back to a time on Earth when there was no plants, there were no trees, there was no anything, the big question is, where did soil come from? What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something had to break it down.
Well, but there was nothing.
Ah.
So where did soil come from?
I never thought about it. Where did it
Tell
come
us.
from?
Well, the theory out there is that mushrooms have the power, and they're just about the only organism on the face of the planet that actually can physically eat rock.
I never knew that.
It
Wow.
can eat rock. You know? It's
awesome.
And anything that ate rock said must be the reason why there's soil.
Wow.
And the theory out there is now that over millions, maybe billions of years, because we really don't know how old the Earth is. We think we do.
Right,
But
but
I don't
it's-
think you can know through plate tectonics of Earth now being gone.
Yeah.
Right.
But, since that mushroom, mycelia, eats rock, over millions of years, microscopic soils were slowly building up on the planet. And that interface with the oceans, amino acids, things coming together, eventually, Darwin,
Developed.
started making
Well, here's
other
something
things.
that a lot of people think that mushrooms are actually in the same group as plants, but they're not.
They're not.
They're a
They're
totally
oxygen breathers.
different.
And actually, some say that mushrooms are more closely related to us than they are
Because
plants.
they're oxygen breathers.
That's
Wow.
right. And
Yeah.
they actually have, instead of an internal stomach, they have an external stomach. And in our internal stomach, we create acids and enzymes that each,
And they do that externally.
and they do that externally.
Okay.
So when you say acids, so do you have to be careful when you pick up a mushroom?
Well, you're not holding the mycelium.
Ah.
You're holding the mushroom.
So you don't want to touch this part down here, is what you're
Well,
saying? Or
particularly when you're actually hunting for mushrooms, it is important to cut them off above the base. Because if every time we go up to, like, say, a mushroom, like right here, and I'll show you, and I rip it up from the ground, what have I pulled up?
All the
The
mycelium.
mycelial network. Now I've created a hole where bugs, creatures might get in and start eating the mycelium. You know?
Okay, and you want to protect that mycelium, so it's better to pluck it off at the...
Right.
Okay.
Especially if you're looking for prized mushrooms like chanterelles or black trumpets or, you know, hen of the woods, stuff like that. If every single time somebody comes and rips it out of the ground, you've opened up that void and you've also taken away the mushroom. Now the mushroom's purpose is for propagation.
reproduction.
It creates spores that comes out from the gills.
I was going to say that you can make really neat gill prints or
Yes.
spore prints with these with
And
kids.
that's
I've done that.
one
yeah.
of the ways that a mushroom hunter finds out in the finite end that this is what the mushroom is that I think it is.
Okay.
If you have any doubt in your mind, do a spore print.
Okay.
Because a
Are those
spore
unique,
print
like
is
fingerprint?
like a fingerprint.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. I
And
kind of
every
heard
mushroom
Yep.
has a different spore print.
wow.
So I could have picked this mushroom, you know, which is a Lactarius, and I might think it's, you know, Lactarius deliciosus. But this one has a white spore print. Happened to be, when I did the spore print, it was purple. That tells me, this isn't what I thought it was.
that. So they have different colors in addition to different patterns.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I didn't
Yep.
know that. Did you know that?
And not all
I am
mushrooms
learning so much.
are gilled.
Not all mushrooms are gilled.
Right.
Okay.
This is called the cheese polypore.
And then, so how does this reproduce if the spores can't come out the gills? Where do
Well,
they
they
come
come
out
out from
There's
the
pores in there?
spores. Yep.
Oh, so
It's just a
tiny
If you
different
little...
look
type,
under
a
a
different
magnifying
style.
glass, which I happen to have in my trusty basket here, you know. Oh, I'm being mean to the mushrooms.
Well, you know, that reminds me of artist's conch. That's the same idea, right? With the pores.
Rusula. Yep,
And that has gills, correct?
that's right.
Look at that.
Yep.
I never thought about the
So
difference
in the
between them.
basket, we have some mushroom tea.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I'll hold that for you.
Nice.
So you look down here, and you see little
Oh, they're
pores.
yep.
Yep. Now, mushrooms have different things as well. What is this?
I don't know.
Piece of wood? I don't know.
A mushroom.
It
That's
looks
a
like
mushroom.
it's a burnt
This
piece
is
of wood.
Yeah.
called chaga.
Oh my.
Yep. This is a.
Is that from around here too?
Yeah, from
Yeah.
birch trees. This is a parasitical
Wow.
mushroom.
So
This mushroom
is-
will actually attack dead and or dying birch trees and make sure they're going to be dead or dying.
this whole
Wow.
thing is a
is
mushroom.
a mushroom.
Wow.
Yep. You can actually see the mycelial network that gives rise to this.
Wow.
And by taking this off the tree, are we taking away the mushroom? No.
Yeah. No.
Why?
Because the mycelium is already
Already in the
pervasive
tray?
all the way through. So that's why, if I just take a mushroom from the ground, cut it right off, I'm not hurting the mycelial network.
I see.
I'm just, you know, maybe
Gotcha.
preventing that mushroom from sporulating to that particular
Right.
area.
So you're kind of leaving the roots and you're just cutting off the stem, kind of.
That's
in a
right.
sense, yeah.
And this mushroom is in this mushroom tea.
Uh-huh. And what is this? Now, how many kinds of mushrooms did you use for
There's
this?
3.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And-
There's chaga.
If I can just get through the mosquitoes, I'll
Sure.
enjoy the tea.
Now, mushroom tea is actually one of the oldest teas drunk on Earth.
How do you make it? Just the same way you'd make a
You-
regular tea?
You steep it. You steep
Yeah.
it
Same
in
way.
water. Yep.
So
You
do they
don't
have to be
cook it at
dry?
all?
It's nice to dry some kind. Some kind you can just totally use fresh.
So do they fall
smells
apart
good.
as easily if they're not dried?
Well,
Or-
if they're not dried, they kind of fall apart pretty easily.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yep.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers
Yeah.
Thanks,
to
Dave.
mushroom health.
Ooh, that's
Isn't that
good.
mild?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting
is
that
delicious.
flavor.
Yeah, and 9
Very
out of
good.
10 people will instantly reject my mushroom tea because they think about the button mushroom.
Now, does this have anything else except
There's
for
a
mushrooms?
little bit of honey
Uh-huh.
and a tiny, tiny bit of ginger.
I can taste the ginger.
Yeah.
Yep.
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 And does this have any, you might have already mentioned this, but medicinal?
Tremendous.
Okay.
Helps to fight cancer in the body.
Excellent.
Has omega-3s,
Ooh.
polypeptides. Also has vasodilating properties, so it actually helps your lungs to expand. And this particular mushroom is kind of found all over the northern hemisphere of the world, and the people in the Himalayas use it for altitude because it actually helps you to uptake more oxygen into your body.
Wow.
Oh, very interesting.
And it also is a fire mushroom.
Uh-huh.
It burns and forms a beautiful ember.
Uh-huh.
And it can also be used when you've got a lot of bugs. I should have lit one right here because actually it will keep down the mosquitoes.
Uh-huh.
And the nomadic folks of the world will also use this to start fires. They create this thing called a fuel piston. And you actually take a little piece of the chaga, put it inside this, it could be a piece of wood that's been hollowed out through with another piece of wood, and they strike it. And by the time it gets to the other end, it's an ember.
Wow.
So it can be used to
That's-
start fire.
The mushrooms are amazing.
Mushrooms.
They
Well,
are.
And, you know, I've seen a lot of mushrooms in this area today, so we might want to take a look at what other mushrooms there are here while we
Sure.
have a sip of
enjoy
our
our
tea.
tea. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Let's look around because I bet
Well,
you
look at
there's.
all these.
Oh my!
What the? Are these all? Are these all the same kind? All these white ones?
These look like they're all the same kind so far. We'll
Uh-huh.
have to explore around here. And I've got a knife,
I'm gonna have to put my tea down for a minute.
and I'll show you the best way to actually pick a mushroom. Well, I guess these aren't all the same right here, because there's some other ones right there as well.
Oh, they're attached to the stick.
Yep.
I see.
The
And
little
these are
mushroom
the
right there.
the porulated kind. Is
These
that
are
what
the
you-
correlated kind. Yep.
Okay.
Or the pores or spores would come out of this part of it.
Okay.
Some mushrooms, the spores will come out of the top,
Really?
like the puffball,
So
Oh.
this one comes out from the edge here.
from the edge and underneath.
Aha.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Okay.
then, and then what are these here? They have gills, I assume.
Right, these have, well, you can't assume.
I
because
can't
we,
assume.
We could look underneath and it could be a bolete.
Oh, I see.
So we're going to take this right here and cut it right at the base, right there. And this
Oh.
is a gilled mushroom.
That's beautiful.
Yep. You should always be careful of mushrooms on the ground when it comes to eating mushrooms, because this gilled family has the most poisonous mushrooms that there are.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay.
And we can even take
Would even touching them affect
No,
it?
you can't osmoticize.
You can't.
You can't get poisoned from actually
From
just
the
touching
contact.
a mushroom.
Okay, it's not
That's
contact.
right.
Gotcha.
It's not from contact.
That's really interesting to see the layers.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And that's why it's really important to actually pick mushrooms at different sizes, because like this mushroom
Here, if I hold
right
that.
here, to some people, if we pick this one, they might say, well, maybe they're not the same mushroom because they're kind of got their gills tighter, you know, they're more compact.
And they're not like, they don't have the edge on them yet.
They don't have the edge on them yet. So that's why it's important to pick small, big, medium sizes if you don't necessarily know a mushroom.
And what about these? What are these?
Oh, these are called the puffball. These are called the pigskin puffball. And this family has some very delicious edible mushrooms. But right off the bat, I know that this probably isn't an edible one because the regular puffballs don't have the kind of the warts
Yep.
on top. And when I cut it open,
Is it going to puff?
no, because this is still solid.
Uh-huh.
It's black inside.
Wow.
Look at
Who would have
that.
thought?
Why
That
would you
is-
want to put something like that in
Yeah.
your body?
That
you probably
is
wouldn't.
actually really pretty.
But I was told the other day, and I'm not sure if this is true or not, that you can actually take this at this stage and rub it on your skin, and it will stop the blood from flowing.
Oh, well, we
It
should
has
find out.
analgesic properties.
I wouldn't try it though.
I wouldn't
at
try
home.
it. Yeah.
We'll do a
Just
I'm not
research.
quite
We'll
sure,
do a little
you know.
research.
Yeah.
But pretty much every great culture on Earth actually has had various effects of having mushrooms in their life. They would make mushroom tea. There's tons and tons and tons of medicinal properties to mushrooms.
I've heard that before. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, you know, and there's also spiritual properties to mushrooms. So there's, they've been used for
look,
thousands
another
upon
one.
thousands of years.
Is this the same kind?
And you can sometimes, people would say, okay, well, those are two different mushrooms. Now this, whoa! That was awesome.
So those are all the spores.
Those are a pup.
Wow. So you're actually propagating while you're doing
we're
this.
going to spread these mushroom spores. Look at that.
That's
I
awesome.
didn't even know that was going to happen.
Wow.
That was awesome. Yep.
So that actually brings me to my next question, and I'm going to stand up so I don't get stuck on the ground here. My next question is,
mushroom spores in my cup. I drink spores.
My next question is, so right now we're filming this in, the fall, and then soon we're going to end up with winter, and they'll all be covered by the snow.
Right.
And then in the spring we'll start seeing smaller mushrooms again, and they'll grow throughout the season. Yep. What are they doing in the winter? Are they dormant?
Well, because mycelium is 95% of the life.
Right.
Mushrooms are only 5% of the life.
Oh, right. So we're only seeing that
only
fruiting body.
Seeing the fruiting body.
Do they slow down though in the winter?
Things slow down.
Yeah.
But a lot of times because of heavy snow, you have the hibernium layer, and you get a temperature variance right at that level. Yep. So everything's still kind of going on. So it doesn't die. That's why you see mushrooms every year. If they died, the mycelium died every year, it would.
Right. It's just some of those are. Isn't it true that some mushrooms you see just has an annual fruiting body?
Yep.
Or are they all that way? Are they all sort of like you annually see the fruiting body and then the mycelium are still under there?
Well, there's annual mushrooms,
okay,
and then there are perennial mushrooms.
Okay, so there's both annuals and perennials. This mushroom
will grow and grow and grow and not die and fall off a tree.
But something like turkey tail.
Turkey tail are an annual mushroom.
So they'll die off.
And they'll die off, and then there'll be more.
Okay, the next year.
That's right.
All right, and so artist's conch, those really big conchs I see on trees that I've seen people have, those are annual or perennial?
That would be
I would think
mushroom.
perennial because it's so big, woody
and it keeps growing year after year, I would think.
Right.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I saw some up in this
Look
tree
at that. Look
here.
at those in the trees.
Yeah.
So those are what they call saprophytical mushrooms.
Does that mean it's breaking down the tree?
That's right.
Okay.
It's breaking down the tree, but generally isn't the reason why a tree has died.
Right.
That is an elm. Yep.
Wow.
Right there. And
so usually
that is a vulva species, that white one, and the other ones kind of look like small oysters, but I can't quite tell until I put my hands on them.
Yeah. There are a few that are a little bit lower here. So but
maybe we could get a look. The thing that I think is so interesting too is to think about, I read somewhere that 90% of the green plants, or any greenery, plants, trees, any kind of green, 90% of that goes unconsumed by the end of a season. So that means that things like insects and mushrooms are really important in breaking it down.
Well, that's right. I mean, otherwise, without the mushrooms on the earth, we'd essentially we'd be piled high in detritus. Mushrooms are said to be the grand molecular disassemblers.
Wow.
And there's even people doing mushroom mycoremediation right now.
So using mushrooms for cleanup. Okay. Wow.
For cleanup, yeah. Oil spill remnants, toxic loads in the soils, brown fields. Some are even trying to break down sarin nerve gas agents, and some are actually even trying to see if they can somehow figure out how to break down nuclear waste with mycelium.
That would be great.
And mushrooms, you do want to be a little bit careful where you want to harvest mushrooms, and especially in places like China who still use leaded fuel. Mushrooms can actually uptake heavy metals in their physical mushrooms.
Oh, really?
And sometimes these heavily metal contaminated areas, they'll actually bring in mycelium to get the mushrooms fruiting. So they actually get the mushroom drawing up the heavy metals.
So,
and then they'll take the metals to a centrifuge, spin off the metals, and then melt them down.
Oh my
And
gosh.
then get...
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Well, so around here, if for something like harvesting mushrooms, if someone's interested in doing that, they go to your website and they find out.
They'll go to Witchlandwoods.
Witchlandwoods.com. And they can find out a little bit more about that. I know that sometimes you do workshops and sometimes there's information. But around here, like you said, be careful about harvesting unless you know what you're doing.
I think no matter what, even if you know what you're doing,
be careful.
Because there's so many mushrooms that come up during the year. There's over 3,500 different species of mushrooms. They just grow in our eastern forest alone.
I was actually going to ask. That is an amazing number of species.
They say worldwide there's probably upwards of like 600,000 different species.
Wow.
Most likely there's probably like 1 million.
Right, because we always underestimate the number of species.
You know, in these changing times of weather patterns and stuff, we have these extremes that bring out stuff like last year they said they had found these mushrooms down in Cape Cod that no one had ever seen before. There was no name for them.
Yep.
You know, so
a new discovery
because of it was so dry.
Oh, so they may be a kind of mushroom that can...
Yeah, it's like when you're out in a desert or something and all of the rain is gone and then all of a sudden it comes and everything just blooms.
Yeah.
You know, that's crazy.
That is so interesting.
Yeah. Now, so if somebody was interested in growing their own mushrooms or knowing that they're eating the right kinds of mushrooms, what would you recommend, Dave?
If they would like to grow mushrooms, well, they can give me a call. We can talk about it. If they would like to on their own do some exploration and finding and looking and maybe eventually digesting mushrooms, get yourself a really good mushroom field guide. Get something for the Northeast area. We also have a wonderful group of people here in town called the Monadnock Mushroomers.
Oh, really?
And a group of people that go out on just about every 2 Sundays each month. And they go out and they go looking for wild mushrooms.
Great.
And they've been doing it all their life. So, you know, they have such a knowledge, and, you know, you get all these people together with knowledge, and then, you know, it helps to rule out things that someone, you know, might not know. You know, someone else knows it, experienced it, tried it. But an important thing would probably get a Northeast field guide.
Okay.
Audubon Society makes a good one. Newcomb's makes a good one. This author out of New York called Gary Linkoff, he has a great mushroom guide.
So all sorts of, and it's like you said, it's important to get that Northeast guide because there are so many species.
Well, that's right. I mean, you'd be looking at, you know, over 6,000 different species if you would be looking at a continental United States book, and that's a lot to figure out. And people a lot of times just want to look at the picture and say, okay, that's what it is.
Right.
You know, but because mushrooms have different forms at different stages, what you think right now might look like a puffball to you really is a baby stage of an Amanita verosa.
Right.
Like I said, that has a nerve toxin in it.
Yep.
And during the Middle Ages, they actually used to use that, and they would grind it up and put it in a ring and try to kill the king.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they used to call it the sleeping death mushroom.
Right.
Because the king would have a great meal, and he'd go to bed, and then he'd wake up dead. You know?
He wouldn't wake up dead.
I hate that.
Because he wouldn't wake up.
Right.
But yeah, it is amazing what mushrooms can do. Now, Dave, a few years ago, I went up and visited your yurt. And you were showing me how to get mushrooms started. So sometimes you drill holes in certain types of wood.
Depending upon how you want to grow mushrooms, whether you want to grow them in logs or stumps, you would actually take mycelium and actually inoculate that said tree by using plugs, or what I have is what they call sawdust and wood chip spawn.
So when you're saying inoculate, what does that mean?
To put into.
Right.
You know.
Okay,
so take the organism and put it into the wood.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or we're taking the mycelium, not necessarily the mushroom itself.
Right. Yep.
Now, if I want to inoculate my gardens or around plants, I actually will take straw or wood chips or compost and then release the wood chip spawn into that. And the wood chip spawn will begin to break everything down around it and then get mushrooms growing that you might want to
harvest.
Yep. Great.
You know? But again, you have to be careful because, needless to say, any place that you put your mushrooms, there'll be other mushrooms because mushrooms
are everywhere.
Where'd that go? That didn't go get mushrooms?
Yeah.
They're everywhere. And you can see it's just going in the wind.
Yeah.
You know, because some mushrooms propagate via the wind. Some mushrooms actually will have insects that will come and land on it and they'll travel. Some mushrooms need to actually physically be eaten, and the spores need to pass through the rectum, you know, to actually get it to propagate. And then it just,
so they're everywhere.
It just keeps on going, you know. And there's mushrooms on the ground, there's mushrooms in the trees, there's mushrooms in the rocks. Anyone heard of a lichen?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Lichens don't exist on rock without a mycelial soil that is
I never
there.
knew that either.
They're like lovers. They're like intertwined. Mosses, lichens, all those things have mycorrhizal relationships going on with myceliums.
Yeah. Interesting.
Wow.
Yep.
Everywhere. Mushrooms are everywhere.
So you mean someday we won't have any rocks?
No, There's far more rocks. And there's far more earth making going on.
It's all
but,
a cycle.
But think
yep.
of it, in these millions and millions of years,
Yeah.
how much has happened.
Oh man, it's
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, they say our mountains were probably as big at one time as Mount Everest here.
Yeah, as the Himalayas.
You
I've
know,
heard that.
but our mountains are deteriorating, disappearing. Like there'll be no rocks
Yeah.
left. You know.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Mount Monadnock isn't even in our lifetimes a mountain that was truly bald. I mean, we burnt off the top
Right.
of that mountain.
Right.
You know.
Yep.
So it's, you know, everything's kind of on the way down here. Where you actually go out to places in the Rockies and stuff. Some of those mountain ranges are still growing.
We're on the way up.
Yeah.
Yep, it's all a cycle.
Yep.
And apparently, and I have learned today, mushrooms are a huge part of the cycle.
They are.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah. Well, again, we are here at Robin Hood, and Robin Hood Park was donated by a gentleman named George Wheelock back in the 1800s. But he was also, which is kind of funny, very interested in mushrooms. So I think
wow.
he would be really happy that you are
Yeah.
here today and you know, talking
And
to
what
us
a
about
great
these.
forest he's
Oh, it is.
saved here. I mean,
Yeah.
massive oaks and pines, and people come up here, you know, for years.
Yeah.
It's just a nice, quiet place in the middle of Keene.
Right.
You know? And the forest goes on, you know, for a long time, even past this area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could walk from here to all the way to the end of Old Concord Road practically.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
a little dark and scary out
Yeah.
there.
But you could do it.
But I don't think we have any Sasquatch.
No, not around here.
Probably
Haven't
okay.
seen one yet.
And you know, we don't have a lot of animals. People get nervous about animals, but pretty much the only thing that to be nervous around these areas would probably be the black bear, and they're actually pretty much vegetarians here in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so as long as you are proud and strong in your stance,
Yeah.
you know, not much is going to bother you.
No, it's nice out here. I take my kids, I take my dog. We walk
I'm
through
more
all the
scared
time.
of people than I am animals for the
Yeah.
most part in the
Yeah.
Northeast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get out in other places, you know, like we were walking, I was just out in New Mexico, and we were walking down by the Rio Grande. We saw mountain lion tracks.
Wow.
We're like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's exciting.
We don't see that around here.
So what kind of animals do they eat mushrooms? Like
I've
seen
seen
chipmunks.
deer.
Deer?
I've seen bear.
Yeah.
I've seen chipmunks, squirrels. I wouldn't be surprised if
There's a lot of insects
everything
that do
that's
as
in
well.
the forest, you know,
Yep.
anything that's kind of predominantly vegetarian.
Well, it
or
would
has-
make
or
sense.
has omnivoric
Right.
properties.
It must
would
be
make-
great for them.
Well, it would make sense too because as you think about it as being so prevalent, it's a huge food source. Then, if it's that prevalent, something's going to eat it.
Yeah.
Whether it's an insect or
Right.
a mammal,
Yep.
or I
And
mean,
that's
who
why
knows?
like
Reptile.
mushrooms like the morels, when they come up first thing in the spring, if you don't get them when you find them, most likely you won't get them because they're one of the first mushrooms to come up. And because there's not a lot of food source at the moment besides roots and stuff that's kind of overwintered,
Animals will eat them.
mushrooms like that will be gone pretty quick.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
This has been
Welcome.
so.
Yeah.
I just can't believe how much I've learned just in this half hour.
Right. Right.
This has been great.
It's all in my backyard.
In my backyard.
So if you're interested in more information about In My Backyard, you can email us, Jen and myself, at inmybackyardch8@gmail.com, and we'll get back to you if you have any ideas or you'd like to be on the show, just like Dave. We might even ask you back, Dave. There's so much more that we could
That'd be
talk about. I know
wonderful.
there is.
Yeah, I'd love to go to Witchland Woods, so
Yeah.
we can do that maybe next time.
Yeah, that
Great.
sounds
So
great.
we'll see you guys next time in my backyard.